Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Live Your Dreams podcast. I'm your host, Joe Gawalis, alongside my co-host,
Chris Victor.
Chris. Today, we're diving deep into the world of filmmaking and spirituality with an extraordinary guest who is a visionary director behind the award-winning documentary Something Divine, which has been making waves in the film festivals worldwide. Thomas Essig, thank you so much for coming on to Live Your Dreams podcast. Your journey has been nothing short of spectacular.
No, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
No, absolutely, really, and I can't wait to get into the production because really, Something Divine, it takes us, the viewers on a spiritual kind of pilgrimage, right, through India and through Ray's incredible story, the man who went into this hardcore punk icon who became an incredible man of spirituality, is changing lives. His journey was so extremely, incredibly impressive, motivating, inspiring. You take somebody who has made a transformation, but is still having his love for his passion of music so strong in his life. What an incredible man he is. It must have been great getting to work with him.
Yeah, working with Raghunath, Ray, it's a funny thing to hear people call him Ray because I address him as Raghunath.
Of course, yes.
And if you really want to go dive into his story, you read from Punk to Monk, which just came out in April.
Nice.
I believe it's on Simon & Schuster, I believe. Anyway, Raghunath and I just have a unique friendship that was developed before the film. I went on pilgrimage with him in 2017, and we just really connected.
You could tell, but the way you tell your story, you are there to bring out the inner light. It's such a beautifully told story from start to finish. Well, let's talk about your journey, Thomas, your filmmaking journey. What brought you kind of into this world, right? It's an incredible world for anybody to get into, but then to get into this world and go into the direction you have where your documentaries are really going to change and impact a lot of lives is incredibly impressive.
Thanks. It actually, if I want to say an answered prayer, it came from actually being on pilgrimage with Raghu in 2017. Wow. And being in the Ganges River. What had happened, my mother had passed away at the end of 2016 on Thanksgiving. And I hadn't had time to mourn that, dealing with all her, dealing with all the stuff that you have to deal with. And finally, being a working guy my whole life, but I was also a musician in the background. And in that pilgrimage, I really put it out that I wanted to be my creative self. So just by chance, because of the music I had done, actually Sue, who was in the movie, we were partners at the time. These two guys came into her tax office, A&M Creative, Alex Knapp, who's my producer, and we've been working together since 2017. She said, hey, these guys came in, they do business commercials, but they want to start doing more creative stuff. She goes, why don't you have some fun and make a music video? And I went, at this suggestion this time, I went, you know what? You're right. I have music recorded. I emailed Alex and we met up. What was going to be a music video turned out to be a short film.
Oh, sure.
That's right. Yeah. So it turned out to be the 16-minute short film that Alex created. And it actually was his testing himself, because later on the next year we filmed Go Don't Go, which is Alex's first film. And that's how it all started. It was just like, why not? Why not make a video and have some fun? I can tell you the actual idea for the movie, if you're interested.
Of course, are you kidding me? 100%. Your story is incredible.
So in 2016, now realize I'm working on pharmacy robots.
Okay, sure.
Okay, engineer going around the hospitals, taking care of these robotic systems in pharmacies. And Sue she's actually the one who's in the movie in her story. She had gotten through cancer, and Raghu was a client of hers, and he was doing his pilgrimage. She goes, I'm going to go to India. I was like, what?
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 Yeah.
What? So she goes to India, she comes home, and I didn't know Raghu's music background. I only knew him as a yoga teacher.
Okay, sure, sure.
Okay. So she's telling me the story about, did you know Raghu had this band Youth of Today? And then he had this band Shelter, and Shelter rang a bell because Shelter was on MTV
Yeah, yeah.
in
Oh,
the
yeah.
early 90s. And I remember it's like some weird video. It was actually really kind of funny. And I looked them up on Google and I was like, wow, this is really cool. This is like an incredible thing.
Yeah.
And I just joked and said, how come nobody's made a movie about this?
That's great.
Okay.
Great.
There
That
it is,
happens.
yeah.
And I totally forgot it. Did the short film. And Alex kept on saying to me, I'm going to come to you with an offer. I'm going to come to you with an offer. Finally, at the end of 2017, beginning 2018, he goes, will you help me make this movie? And I said, and I looked at it. And actually, when I first saw the script, because I've done acting, stage acting, live acting, professional stuff, I know scripts. But when Alex handed me this unique script that was only 65 pages, I actually tossed it aside.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
This is not it. It's not correct. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I went, wait, this is an opportunity. And I took it and I went to Alex and said, I'll help you get this done. So when we were filming in 2018, still totally had forgotten my idea. I would go down to the sets, when filming, and I would watch and learn and, really participate. And actually, I'm in that film.
Nice.
And one day in the street of film lot in upstate New York, I'm looking at it and I went, all of a sudden I remembered this stupid idea. And went, I have the guys to get this done. We are the guys who are crazy enough. They're really talented. I noticed how hard they work. They know their technology as I know my technology for recording.
Sure, sure.
And I presented it to Raghu. I went to India again with him in 2018 and I started really paying attention, like, would this work and how would you do it and all this stuff. And that's how Something Divine came to be. It was originally supposed to be a biopic film about Raghunath.
Oh, sure.
I actually had a working title that was called From Punk to Monk, which
Nice.
now is his book. And it wasn't working out that way. And
Sure.
the whole idea, what started happening, and it's really funny, within the first week, the camera guy and I were in, it was called the Govardhan Eco Village in India, just north of Mumbai. And this guy I barely knew, who's actually in the band Shelter, he plays second guitar to Paramananda for Sal.
Sure. Okay, sure, sure.
Okay, Madhu. And he says to me, Prabhu, which means like master, he goes, this is such a great thing you're doing for us. And it actually stopped me to go, wait, I'm not doing this for you. This is actually about Raghu, but wait a second. This wouldn't be just for you guys. That's where the seed was planted, that this is actually bigger than this.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it happened.
That's beautiful. Everything lines up the right way. Your openness to being a collaborator, you're at the right places, you're helping friends. I love that you put the pieces of the puzzle together like that, and you realize that this is more than just a story that you thought you're telling. It is. It's going to impact lives. The way people are going to watch this beautiful documentary. I mean, really, I love it from start to finish. You can feel yourself wanting to get involved with this world. Really, as a viewer, you see yourself thinking about your spirituality, wanting to be more involved, and the openness of everybody that's on screen is just incredible. You can tell there's a lot of trust there between yourself and everybody that's involved with the production.
Well, being involved with these people, genuinely, the film had to be truthful. It had to be ethically done. Everyone had a choice. There's a lot of interviews that aren't in the movie because we had to narrow it down to make it very follow, to be able to follow it and keep a small amount of characters instead of
Sure.
having a documentary with all this information flying at you and 20 people coming across the screen. And then you're like,
Yeah, you're lost. Yeah.
yeah, you're lost in it. Um, and they had the choice, but they, trust me enough to know that I would do the right thing with the interviews, with the information they're giving me. You know, um, Sue and Fabio were great to open up like that.
I gotta
Give me
say, I love what I believe it was Sue that mentioned about God being the object and her being the subject, or us being the subject. I really love what she said. This film made me think a lot. I watched it separate from Joe. I called Joe. I was like, these guys are living it. I know a lot of people that talk the talk, but not walking the walk. Thank you so much for putting everyone on. And showing
No, you're
me
welcome. Yeah, that was actually Kate. That was Kaylee.
Okay.
Kaylee, who is
Yeah.
actually the first person who introduced me to the Bhagavad Gita. I had been going to yoga classes years. This is like 2007, I think. I met Kaylee through Sue. Sue took me to one of her yoga classes. And when I would go to yoga before that, I always thought that there's something more to this. Instead of just going, sweating, and bouncing around and twisting and trying to, I was just like, there's more to this. And Kaylee was actually the first class that I went to that she chanted. And then she would give you some philosophical yogic thought. And I went, this is more like it. And it progressed where Sue and I did yoga teacher training. And that's where I really got introduced to the Bhagavad Gita. I think that was like 2014 or 2013 we did the training. So it was just a whole progression. And of course, the interest to go to India and to the source
Sure.
of this information was really important to me at that point. And
Thomas,
then
did you open up? Sorry, go ahead, please.
you live it. And so all of a sudden through these interviews, you start to really remember, wait, this is what this was about. This is a journey. This is getting to know who I am, without preaching. There's no preaching in the movie. It doesn't tell you. No, it leaves it up to you to figure it out.
I love that you guys left it to the audience. You made people think. They had that upper level thinking involved. And that kind of brings me to my next point. Were you always a spiritual person in your life, Thomas? Did you have that going as you were a younger man in your teenage years, kind of getting into your early 20s, or did that form later in life? I'd love to see that kind of journey, because so many of our listeners, they may be on this kind of spiritual quest, or they may not know kind of how to take these first steps, or maybe afraid to kind of open those doors.
All right, totally straight up with you. I was raised, my father who raised me is Jewish.
Okay, Jewish. Sure.
Okay, so I went to Jewish school, got bar mitzvahed, even though I'm not his blood, I'm Italian.
Sure.
So I grew up in this really strange world. He was involved in crime and really a bad person, but he had this real religious side to him.
Sure.
Oh yeah, it's just, but I had that in me from when I was little, actually, and had to start really. So I had this confusing world of, okay, he didn't teach me how to ride a bicycle, but he taught me how to fight and how to bet on horses. You lose sight of God, you lose sight of that, but along the way, it was always there. It was always something that I was attracted to. God, whatever you want to call God, whatever it is, so be it.
No, that's beautiful. And did you find, as a filmmaker now, coming from kind of that dualistic type of growing up, that environment where you're seeing both kind of sides of the coin, now you're dealing with a lot of the subject matter, a lot of the people that are obviously spiritual, that are people that want to be open to spirituality. But do you find, as a filmmaker, because of your upbringing, you're kind of open to everybody around you? I mean, you're in a new place. As India is different, but it's where the spirituality of this is taking place. But yet you're telling a story of so many different people. Do you find your past, even though it was not spiritual 100%, had something to do with your being able to tell stories about different human beings?
Yeah, we all have a story. And
yeah,
that's the world I grew up in. Just You see, that. And in the community I grew up in, it wasn't, some rich, world. We were poor. And um, dealing with a lot of different racial backgrounds and everything as a kid. And you just learn. You go into these homes and you're like, oh, wow, their life is completely different than mine,
Mhm.
and vice versa. And that's the approach, is that we're all different. You know, we aren't the outsider of our house. It's what's going on inside. That's really important. And that's what matters. And that's where compassion and understanding is like, you got to realize we are all different. And we all have, life is hard.
Sure. I
Life
mean,
is hard,
yeah.
you know? Um, I just, I'm really fortunate to have just at times listened at the right time to actually get this done, you know,
The
and it all fell together.
There's such a beautiful way of putting it, because seeing that message now, it's getting out there. Really, like Chris said earlier, when you're watching this, you can feel just a spiritual tug at your being as you're watching this documentary, as you're learning more about everybody that's involved and seeing the people of India. And again, I love that you mentioned the chanting, and when you've heard that for the first time at the yoga, because when I was watching the documentary, when you're first hearing that chanting come in, you really you start to feel a real connect. I mean, you're really feeling a connection with what you're watching all of a sudden. That really kind of brings you right into it, and that was a real impact for me personally.
Thanks.
'Cause
Yeah.
I
One
love
of
that.
the reviews that he started out saying, I thought I was going to watch a yoga movie, and it's not.
That's what's fantastic though is the reaction so far has been great. You know, as a filmmaker, right? You're there. You go on this pilgrimage to India. It's a huge deal, right? What you're doing, you're creating this amazing story. You're around the beautiful people of India. You're telling the story that the world is gonna see. How does it feel now as a filmmaker, right? Because the process. Tell us a little bit about that too, because that it's not you're not making a documentary overnight, and the editing process, I'm sure, was something that took a lot of time. I'd love to hear more, and I'm sure our listeners would there in that filmmaking aspect of our listeners, of that kind of how that journey went from shooting to getting it edited, and now coming to this final stages where you're getting ready for release.
Sure, absolutely. We filmed all of 2019 from
Okay.
January to December. We have 100 hours of footage.
Nice.
I can't even tell you how many interviews were done.
Sure.
We filmed in India. We filmed in Europe. I wanted it to be this big, beautiful film. Just that was intended to be Raghu's story, which it's not. You get some of his story in it for sure. But so COVID hits in 2020, and so you couldn't do anything really.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Couldn't go anywhere. Um, and so I just kept on going through the footage, found an editor, gave it to him, and unfortunately, it didn't work out. And all of a sudden, nothing was working out. It's like I couldn't make this Raghu's story ethically. I just felt like I couldn't put something good out, something I could put my name on, or even the responsibility of the people who actually, Alex, Derek, Frankie, who colored it, and Ragnar, the editor. There's a responsibility there. These people make their living at this. I'm new to this. And I just felt that responsibility. And I actually walked into Alex, who's my producer and one of the cinematographers, and I went, Alex, I'm sorry. At least you guys got paid. I can't. I'm scrapping the project.
That's it, right? Oh wow, that's it.
That was in 2020, and and I'm just sitting there looking at this. When I go up in my studio, and I had an editor I wanted to use, and graciously she would just, no, Tom, no. And she's actually credited as a creative consultant. And one day I called her up, and then she's like, Tom, my answer is going to be no. And I was like, Cody, I'm not asking you ever again. And I said, Cody, she's a professional editor. She has a lot of credits to her name. And I said, I can't do this about Raghunath at this point. She said to me something so simple. She goes, what's the one thing your audience can hold on to that you have? And I said, spirituality.
Mm.
She goes, there's your movie. She goes, the other stuff, if you want, figure it out. And that was it. And I went back and started like getting rid of interviews. What do I need? What do I need?
Sure.
What's this? What now will people hold on to? And that's how that came about. So I'm going through this process. I had no editor. And it was towards the end of when we couldn't go to people's houses. And Raghunath had a little kirtan at his house.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was like 10, 15 people. That's it. The most you could have, whatever it was. And I'm sitting on his couch by myself, just staring at a wall going, okay, what are you going to do now? You don't have an editor. I'm not qualified to edit film. Music, yeah. And this person walks up to me, her name was Jody. And she goes, I hear you do film stuff and you were doing something with Raghunath. And I said, yeah. She goes, well, where are you at? And I said, well, I kind of really need an editor. And she goes, well, I know an editor.
There you go.
That's great.
Out of the blue. And I was like, well, yeah, what, who? I was like, what do you do? And she goes, well, we actually work with disabled people with disabilities and we film them. And this guy, Ragnar Friednach, who's my editor, she throws out his name. And I said, well, give me his info. I got a hold of him. We met. And I didn't tell him anything. But we just had a conversation. And I was like, this is the guy. And we got together. What was it, 2022? I can't even remember now. 2022, and we sat down for like 2-3 months and going through everything that I had pulled aside. And I didn't tell him what I wanted. I knew at that point what I wanted the movie to be. And he's watching. He does knew nothing of India, knew nothing of the hardcore world. Is a great guy, but he's very observant. And we watch these clips and we start having conversations and he goes, well, I kind of feel like in these clips, I kind of feel like I'm in India.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the idea. Yeah, okay. And then he's watching, he goes, oh, this footage of the hardcore. He goes, actually, if you see the people stage diving, you see the people in India chanting, it's like the same thing. We're good. Yeah. I didn't tell him this. I was like, that's the energy I saw between and chanting in cities in India. And then he goes, this has to be nothing. There's nothing bad about this. This has to be helpful. He got my message. And then and then he goes, after pointing out what interviews and all this stuff, he goes, can I just work by myself now for a week? And then you come, and I'm like, absolutely.
Sure.
That's great.
Ragnar did such a great job. I would just come in and go, here, this clip's here, because I knew where everything was. And let's just do this little thing. But it's basically, Ragnar Friednach did an amazing job in understanding what I wanted without me even communicating it.
I love that. I got to say, the one thing about this through line where we mentioned before how many people were all different, but with this one similarity we have with these spiritual beings having this human experience, you conveyed that message so beautifully in this film. I'd like to thank you for that. That was excellent.
Oh, thank you. It's really good. And it was just, Ragnar, I mean, it's just this symbiotic relationship we have. I had the music in there as mine.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That wasn't my choice. He said something to me, and I said, here, let's just start here. I threw him some material of mine and I said, just give me a chance and I'll find you more stuff. And within a few days, when I went back, he he's playing me this one scene. I went, oh, I wasn't expecting you to really use this.
Hmm.
And then later on, he told me, he goes, it wasn't until you gave me that I was completely stuck in what to do next with the film. He goes, after you gave me that song and put it in, he said, I just finished it. And actually, when I was doing the audio with that song, I was so stuck. I would get on the computer. I actually went to one of my favorite, like Marty Scorsese, really mixes music in.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So if you go to the Goodfellas scene where Henry's driving around, the helicopters in the sky, Into the Fire's playing, and I listened to the audio and how it was mixed, but I found something that I love the scene. I'm not saying anything bad about anyone, but I saw something in their mixing that I needed to see to change mine. And once I got to it, I was able to do the audio. It's just so weird that we were both hung up in the same part of the movie.
Oh wow, that's incredible, actually.
And it is pretty incredible, you know.
No, absolutely, and I'm telling you, you're 100% right about your editing process, because sometimes, I mean, there's a lot of great information happening and seeing the dichotomy between the punk rock scene in India that easily could have been lost, but your direction and your editor's style and what you guys collaborated together on, it was seamless. I mean, really seamless the entire time. So again, just saying again, thank you to your editor and you, because it was fantastic.
Thank you to
guys did. That could have been one like that so easily could have been. You're all over the place as an audience member. What am I looking at here? Where are we going? You're in it from start to finish. It was a great through line. You guys really did a fantastic job setting that up. It was great.
I always tell him, thanks for giving me something so difficult to edit. He handed me 36 tracks, and it's cut so tightly. It's just like,
No, but you know that's a beautiful thing, right? Because it's clean, it's there, and every cut it makes sense, which is great. But I'm sure when you talk about the music, that's a difficult thing to plug in. But
just the audio here's, you guys saw the movie. This is the truth. And I laughed to myself because in the back song, he goes, two turntables and a microphone, right? So I go, two cameras and a microphone. And that's how that movie was done.
There you go. Wow.
There's no sound crew. I just understand my software, and to actually, I have sound restoration to make it back to what it really should have been if you had a sound crew.
Sure.
I didn't have a sound crew. Just two camera mics and a lav mic. So two cameras and a microphone.
Really, congratulations on that. You're obviously very good with technology because everything was pristine. I mean, really, it did nothing sounded like you were like a gritty guerrilla crew on the road running around with two cameras and a mic. That sounded like you had a full unit with you. So that was really fantastic job there.
No, and that's a big thanks to Alex and Derek Brown, Alex Knapp and Derek Brown, to really know what they're doing with their cameras and what to look for. They're both incredible cinematographers, and Alex is really a really good producer. He does a lot of. He actually just one of the NFL commercials, Alex filmed.
Oh, good, great.
Kelsey. So I mean, you're not talking about amateurs. You're talking guys who work in the industry who have
No, you can tell. I mean, it's really the film is beautiful, and then I cannot wait for the audiences to get out there and seeing that. And that kind of brings us to this now that everybody knows the process is difficult to even shoot, edit, and now you start getting into the the feature, the film festival run, talking about distribution. What's going on and what's next for the film? Because I cannot wait for our audiences to be able to jump in and see this great, beautiful documentary.
We're really fortunate. I didn't have really any help with getting it into festivals. I did go through a film festival mastery class to kind of understand things. Sure. And all of a sudden, the first one it's in is Impact Docs, and it wins.
Yes.
In religion and ethics, and I was just like, "Are you kidding me? Really?"
That's it. It's good.
It was. Believe me. Festival run is over, and today, October 1st, it is released on EO Flix. It's an app.
Okay.
on your computer. Just go to Entertainment Oxygen, look for Something Divine, and it is now out to the world. It's a world release.
Right.
Um, I tried to make watching it as simple as possible. It's like
Sure.
$2.99 to watch it.
Mhm.
I could have went through a lot of things to make it more expensive and blah blah blah. And the typical distribution route, which I was working in that world, and I wasn't comfortable. And it was actually my original idea is to self-release it anyway.
Sure.
And through
Yeah.
actually through Nicole, she pointed me in the direction of EO Flicks.
Oh, good. Right.
Yeah, actually, Moby's in the movie, so his movie is on the same platform. As I was looking through it, I went, "Oh, that's cool."
That's great.
He has
Yeah.
his vegan punk movie, and it's on the same platform. And Moby was filming his film at the same time we were doing Something Divine.
Oh, yeah.
That's how Moby actually ended up in the movie. He was
Oh, wow.
interviewing Raghunath.
Huh.
We lived close to each other, and he goes, "Hey, I want to interview Moby for my thing. Can we do it at your studio?" And I said, "Sure." And then it was just
Yeah.
like, "Can we get him to like
Sure.
sign
Yeah.
off on being in the movie?" And he was really gracious. And I got to tell you, he was great. It really was. He just signed off on it, and that's how he ended up in the movie.
That's incredible.
Yeah, at that.
Really,
awesome.
I mean, look, the mission of this film,
Right.
everything lines up, right? You can tell that the universe is aligning for you right there. Things are happening. It's beautiful, and I'm glad you're taking this great route with the distribution because obviously you know that world. I'm not going to say anything
Yeah.
negative about anything, but you know it's a very unique world distribution. It has its own kind of set of rules, and it's a very unique thing that goes on in that. So it's great that you're maintaining kind of control and getting the film out there for the simplest way for the audience to see, and still being able to reach people around the world. Such an important move and very smart on your you know
Thanks.
your
I
half.
hope it's easy for people, and spread the word. That's in the ethos or the ethics of how like hardcore punk really started. People were sending letters in the mail to each other. Hey,
Sure.
have you seen this band? And then people would go and stay in each other's homes. So it's the same kind of idea. Is this word of mouth is really important. Um, and it's just it is for everyone. It's just greatly appreciated to have like you guys have me on. I'm like, what?
No. Thank you
Not
so
yet.
much. We really, we our whole message statement is to live your dreams, give people the motivation to get out there, to be positive, to support each other, to be a community building type of platform. So we cannot wait to have links. And if you don't mind, we'd love to put links in the description and all of our channels and everything we're doing to support and what you're doing, because we'd love to support and make sure we're promoting you guys as much as possible. People deserve to get out there and see this. Your message is so powerful and important.
Yeah, I'll get a hold of Nicole. There was just a couple issues today with it, and they're straightening out the issues on the platform.
Okay, great.
It's still
Sure.
pretty new, so I'll have Nicole send you everything.
No, that would be great. And really, Thomas, you are an inspiring individual. Before we get crazy, you've already been on for the half hour here. This went by in like 2 seconds. Your story is incredibly interesting. You're fantastic. Really, is everything you're saying is motivating. Any last pieces of advice for young, aspiring filmmakers, people that are living any sort of dream, a spiritual dream, people that want to better their lives, not just filmmakers? The first step to kind of taking that journey, if you can just give them a piece of advice before we get going.
Trust in who you are. Don't quit. If you feel like you're in a real positive direction. I mean, I've been a musician my whole life, and I was a working man. I've done everything from cleaning toilets to driving forklifts, as a certified diesel mechanic, and then I ended up in robotics. But I kept on working on music, learning audio engineering. And if it's a dream, it's just something I love doing. I love creating stuff. I love doing it. And whether I was succeeding or not didn't matter. I was still doing it. Don't be able to take rejection. I've been rejected so many times, especially in the music world. And now it's starting to succeed, but I'm 63 years old. And here I am, my first film, releasing it. It's,
Beautiful.
That's great.
don't quit. Just trust and listen to people. Listen to people who know things, listen to them, and put your 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 hours in. So that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Don't think this just happens and
Yeah.
you're going to get paid. No, don't expect to get paid that easily. You're not gonna, especially if you're doing music. You're going to have to go out and tour and sell merchandise. Musicians are merchandise salesmen now.
Interesting.
You're absolutely right. It's a new age, and you have to be willing to put the time in and to really, truly commit to what you're doing.
And get your ego out of the way.
100%. Yeah.
Get your ego out of the way. Because once your ego's in there, you're gonna get your butt kicked. Believe me, I know.
Yeah. Yep. No, a lot of, and that's something that every like aspiring artist in the beginning of their career kind of has to get kicked back a little bit. At the beginning to I think everybody at the beginning does have a bit of the ego why everyone's an artist, but it's good to lose that as quickly as possible. So,
Your ego is not your amigo.
Yeah. Being a creative is actually really a gift. It really is.
You're 100% right about that. Absolutely right. You're 100%
what you guys
right.
are doing. It's not easy. I know.
No, a lot of work. You have
a podcast and having it out there? No,
Yeah.
that's not easy.
Very blessed to always be doing this and be surrounded by great people like yourself and Nicole for setting this up. I mean, it's always fantastic for having everybody together. And Thomas, if people want to learn more about you, do you have any websites or Instagram, anything like that? People can look you up or anything more up, or the film, obviously Something Divine as well. Something
Divine Film on Instagram, Facebook.
Okay.
My Instagram is SSYY Productions and then I do have more. It's more of a place for people to go to see, to hire me or for content.
Sure.
A little bit, not completely up to date, but it's kind of up to date. And I'm going to revamp the website, but it's ssyproductions.com.
Excellent. Okay. No, great. We'll make sure to have links to the descriptions in all of our, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, every place the podcast you can see the Live Your Dreams podcast. Of course, we'll make sure to have links in the descriptions below. And please reach out, try to hire Thomas. Obviously, his work is fantastic. You are going to all love Something Divine. It's really, really, I'm telling you, you're going to feel spiritually connected to this film. It's something that's making a huge difference. Thomas, we have to thank you for coming on the show because you are what the Live Your Dreams podcast is all about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am starting my second project.
Yeah. Can we get a name on that? Do you have a title yet? Can we walk away, or is it in there?
Going back to India.
I love it. I cannot wait. I'm telling you, I cannot wait to check this out. When you start this, we would love to have you back on again. Keep us updated because we'd love to support you in any way. Your journey is spectacular, and everything you're doing for everybody out there is something special. So make sure to connect with Thomas. Talk about that second project. I'm sure he's looking for people to get involved. It's going to be fantastic.
All right. You're very gracious. Thank you.
So, Thomas, thank you so much. Again, for the Live Your Dreams podcast, my name is Joe Gawalis.
Where's Victor?
We're the dreamers, and the dreamers make the world go round. Thomas, thank you so much for coming on. Something Divine, it's out. Make sure you get out there. Check it out. We'll have links to the descriptions below. Again, you can find this podcast on iHeartRadio, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, along with YouTube. There'll be links on each and every site. Support what Thomas is doing. Something Divine is a message that needs to get out there. And for all you dreamers, it's about spirituality, living your life the right way. And Something Divine is telling you the right way to live that journey. Thank you, Thomas, again so much for your contribution.